Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you might be. I am Nicole BC, and you know everything. Hello, welcome. You made it. We're experiencing another biblical weather event here in the land of the apocalypse. Apparently, the climate. What was it when I bought my property? Climate change resistant. So don't believe the hype, my friend. We're in it. So I'm squeezing this in between ice storms and trees down and electricity, therefore internet outages, all of the fun things that we're all getting to experience, whilst also running a handful of different local terrestrial small businesses. So dealing with ensuring people's safety. And I mean, comfort might be a bit of an exaggeration in this moment, but yeah, it is wild trying to build this 21st century world, this new world, if you will, while honoring the expectations everybody brings into it, which is all of the things that have happened up until right now. And in my support of very local community oriented businesses, which seems to be where my focus and energy and heart very much are at. And to be honest, have always been. I think we all got a little distracted by the potential of online because it's limitless and exponential, right? Which feels great until you get there. And then you're like, wow, sustainability, not exactly coherent with my own personal life experience. So maybe let's scale it back. And I think we're all being demanded that particular limitation in these very interesting times right now. Because despite technology perhaps making anything possible, we're still just humans being. And I've had a lot of questions about how the fuck do we do this ethically, not just sustainably, but what feels right, not just by law, not just in terms of expectations, but like in my heart, like I don't want someone feeling unsafe going to work, but like if it's safe, is this just a matter of now calling out because you don't want to go to work because you kind of already like figured it was going to be a snow day? And that's the big challenge. There is no one right way. This is why I am such a proponent for building your own castle and becoming the own king and or queen. Be the deity of your metaverse. Do you, boo? And there's a difference between, is this right? Or are they going to like it? And that's very much what we're going to get into today. When being polite ends, but doing the job really begins. I mean, what even is fair? Fair pay, fair PTO, fair benefits, fair expectations, fairness, rightness, okayness. Like, what's the deal anymore? And we're going to just talk about these kind of little niggly bits right at the beginning, like, because it's the thing under the thing. It's one of my favorites likes to say. She might be listening. You know who you are. The reality is what do we really owe each other? So as an example, if this one individual doesn't go to work today, that means someone needs to cover for them. So does that person need to interrupt their day in last minute? Am I supposed to be doing that right now? The answer actually is yes, but I can't because I'm doing this right now. Then that means it's somebody else's responsibility who was potentially never even roped into this quote unquote chain of command, right? But if we don't believe in hierarchies anymore, who even makes these decisions? And you can see how this loop becomes exhaustive. It becomes a real feedback loop. And speaking of loops, that is also my weekly outreach, my weekly newsletter, if you will. Newsletter doesn't feel apropos, which is why I call it the loop. It seems to be the thing that we're all kind of trying to figure out. I'd experience it like my brain is looping on something. It's like a record skipping. And then eventually when I find my groove, the thing continues to play. But it's never ceases to amaze me how we're all kind of asking the same questions in the same moments. And I have this interesting purview. The camera is actually shaking right now because of how windy it is outside, which I guess that means that's how much this house is shaking. Anywho, that's fun. So what do we owe each other? What do we not owe each other? What is the agreement? But what is the expectation? And what is the story we are telling ourselves? We've got to define the deal. And I believe it needs revision regularly. this does create extra energy, extra input. But in my experience, it creates a pretty consistent, predictable output for the most part. So you will feel these expectations so much stronger as things continue to get a little looser. You'll experience disappointment, frustration, uncertainty, right? Like those are the softer levels. It can get a lot louder, but it can also show up like surprise and joy and alignment because things you didn't expect seem to be working out beautifully. There's both and like what I'm also noticing is those two things can be happening in tandem with each other. You can be disappointed and frustrated almost in the same moment as experiencing joy and surprise. So this episode is for business owners, for leaders, for creatives, for the rebels, the rule breakers, the believers, the team leads, and also for the employees, for the people who haven't yet built it. For anyone who is trying to understand why they are working so hard, but it still feels like the math isn't mathing. So yeah, if you're creative-ish, independently run, owned, managed, thought out, if you're just a human in business, but not the giant machine with a corporate benefits portal and 10 layers of HR, like, yeah, we're in conversation here. It's you, it's me, it's us. This one's for us. And we're going to talk things like salaries and benefits and vacation, but also work ethic, air quotes. But collectively, I term this as the exchange. What do I expect of you in exchange for what? And vice versa. What can you expect of me in exchange for what? I'm going to kind of keep going back and forth to these examples because they're literally happening right now. You know, I finally said to this person, hey, look, my job is simply to ensure if someone is going to be there. And if not, that's communicated. Everything else is beyond my control. So I just need to know, are you showing up today? I don't need to know if it's because you don't want to or if it's because you don't feel safe. But I definitely don't need you to make excuses. This is truly a yes or no question. And it's so interesting because in my brain, I was like, why don't you call the person who's there and let them know what's happening? And this individual did not want to do that, which created a lot more confusion. The person who was there who needed an answer also didn't want to pick up the phone. And they were both left in places of uncertainty and doubt and assumption and storytelling. And I just watch because at some point we have to relinquish our control and our input in a situation to honor our own exchange. And this is where I think things are truly changing, is in the moment, in every moment you get to ask, does this feel good? Does this feel bad? How do I want to course correct in order to continue feeling good? So this isn't about bosses bad, workers good, or workers lazy, bosses saints. Like there is no binary any longer. And it does create a messiness. It will feel effortful until this becomes second nature. Just like the assumptions that it doesn't matter how little you're getting paid or how extreme the expectations on your work. If you're scheduled, you show the fuck up. And if you don't, you're fired. Like that was an old school way of doing things. And I'm sure that still exists in some places. That's just not how anything in my experience rolls. So I'm going to be talking about the things in my experience. Actively caffeinating. You're welcome. So, okay, let's get into that. Let's talk about the old way, the blaming, the othering, the hierarchies, the secrets, the lack of transparency. Like, why the hell would I put an owner in touch with a ground level employee? Because they need to communicate with each other. But in the old way, they're doing it through potentially 2 different middlemen, potentially 20, depending on the size of the organization. And you can see how confusing that could get. You build first, you invite later. Decisions happen backstage, leaving everyone else guessing. Pay is hidden. Expectations are vague and loosely included in these. You like just whatever kind of, I was reviewing a job description today and I was like, it doesn't really fucking mean anything. Like potentially anything could fall under this. And that's in the employer's favor. But in the job role, that individual's confusion. But this resentment was just normal. Like, I hate my job, right? Cool. Go do that for the majority of your life. Not for me. In the old way, the rule book was invisible. The rules were invisible. People would make them up and then fight against them. They fill in the blanks with their own fear, their own traumas, and then apply that everywhere, project that on everything. And fear is compounding. It is of the most active imaginations. This is why we would get team politics. This is why we would get water cooler chat. This is why the rumors and the backstabbing and the competition would emerge. And the hostility became toxic. It was never like, wow, my boss is really looking out for me. It was like, my boss is the villain in my fairy tale. But here's what I've been proposing the whole dang time I've been working. And what I have absolutely been building out with my people is this way of co-creating. This new way where everyone is an artist, where the process is messy, where we don't have all of the answers and we don't know exactly what's going to happen. It's a little bit slower. It's decentralized. It's negotiated and revisited with curiosity and openness. We manage expectations early and often. We agree to disagree, and we refuse to sabotage ourselves first, but everyone. Most importantly, we let people be responsible and autonomous and sovereign. They own their output. They're in control of what they're willing and able to do and when they do it. And also, the repercussions and consequences and rewards of that. We can keep things personal, but we understand we take our work personally. So there is a gray area between professional and personal, and they absolutely will both show up and interfere in each other's domains. But rather than looking at it and experiencing it as interference, we create that layering, that space, that Venn diagram that says, and here is the third space where we coexist together. So fair is not a number. It's a system. Fair is what we can explain and defend and renegotiate without turning into bad guys or martyrs. Because if we don't have a system, we just have vibes. And vibes are cool. I love me some vibes, but vibes ain't like running payroll. Vibes ain't negotiating multi-platform teams across asynchronous work environments, let alone preferences for work. So I do believe, again, there's this blending, this layering of what was and what we're building, recognizing how we've approached things and what works for us best. We talked a lot about this in a previous episode where we introduced the user manual, which was not my concept. I can't remember whose framework it is, but I'll share that as a resource in this episode. But it is a fantastic way to get clear on how do you take feedback? How do you like to work? How do you like to organize? How do you like teamwork and teamwork communication? Because guess what? The way you like is actually the way you get to work, but not everybody is the same. So let's get those, as an example, the people that I was communicating with don't want to pick up the phone. They don't want to have a conversation with each other. They would prefer to send 50 text messages and feel a little bit confused and stressed out than me just pick up the phone, have a conversation, put it down. That's cool, man. But also, like, if y'all don't understand what's happening, if you don't know if someone's showing up yet, after however many messages you've exchanged, I'm not going to figure that out for you. And I feel good about that, even though it's technically my job. Okay. So let's start with the hardest thing for people to fucking talk about, which is so lame. And if I die